Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ever since it became independent from the British Protectorate, Afghanistan has been continuously associated with wars and similar stuff. And its flag has been changed multiple times since then. And this raises the obvious question, why? Why was it changed so many times? So our story begins in 1709 when MIRWAIS HOTAK declared independence from Safavid Iran after defeating their agent governor who was ruling in Kandahar. The reasons behind this was, firstly, he was crypto-Christian, and secondly, because he was oppressing the Afghans. The state founded by MIRWAIS was based in the city of Kandahar and the surroundings. They used a plain black standard as their banner, perhaps due to the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that in the end of time, black banners shall emerge from the region of Khorasan, a part of which is in Afghanistan. However, this didn't last, and in 1783, Iran grew stronger under Nadir Shah and Afghanistan was re-annexed. However, in 1747, Nadir Shah was murdered by his own bodyguards and his empire broke up. The commander of his Afghan troops, Ahmad Khan Abdali, returned to Afghanistan with most of his army, and there he founded the current Afghan state. He was crowned the king as Ahmad Shah Durrani. Sources do mention that his dynasty used a triband of green and white colors in its final years, although we don't really know when they first adopted it. And this flag continued appearing in Herat till 1857, after which it was annexed into Afghanistan by Dost Muhammad Khan. For years, Afghanistan did not have a flag until Dost Muhammad Khan's grandson, Abdurrahman Khan, thought it would be really dumb to have a country without a flag, and so he reinstated the flag of MIRWAIS HOTAK. But in 1901, he passed away and was succeeded by his son, Habibullah Khan. Habibullah Khan did not like the plain black banner, and so he had a seal placed on it because he thought it would be cool. In 1919, Habibullah Khan died and was succeeded by his son AMANULLAH Khan, who fought in the Third Anglo-Afghan War. The war resulted with the end of British Protectorate and Afghanistan's official independence from the British. And Amanullah Khan was the one who changed the flag multiple times. First, he modified the seal in 1919 and got rid of the wheat branches, replacing them with an octagram, which was probably inspired by the Ottoman flag, the flag used by the Caliph. In 1926, for some reason, he got rid of the octagram and returned the wheat branches. Then in 1928, he made a trip to European states, and there the flag of Germany's Weimar Republic caught his attention. He kept thinking about combining the Afghan flags with the German flag for some time. And in 1928, after returning, he significantly changed the flag and introduced the first ever tricolor of Afghanistan. However, the next year, he started playing off with the colors and the seal on the flag. And in 1929, another tricolor was supposedly seen by people as well, as some have reported. But the same year, Amanullah Khan was forced to abdicate and the throne was given to his brother Inayatullah Khan. Inayatullah Khan ruled for a short time, and it is said that during his time, the black banner became the official flag because it was seen by a lot of people. Although Inayatullah Khan himself never wanted to be the king, and so he willingly abdicated in favor of a Tajik revolutionary leader, Habibullah Kalkani, who became the next emir. Habibullah reversed many of Amanullah Khan's western reforms and wanted to make Afghanistan an Islamic state. But fun fact, he wasn't himself educated about Islam, so he couldn't do it. His supporters used flags very similar to those flown by the Mongol invaders when they invaded the region in the 13th century. However, during this time, Afghanistan had actually two flags and two rulers. His second ruler was a Pashtun named Ali Ahmad Khan, who was a loyalist of Amanullah. He refused to recognize Habibullah and proclaimed himself the Amir of Afghanistan twice, first in Jalalabad and then in Kandahar. Habibullah Khan's supporters tried to kill him two times. The first time he was caught but escaped. However, the second time he was executed. And after that, his estate was also annexed into Afghanistan officially. In late 1929, Muhammad Nadir Shah, a descendant of Dost Muhammad Khan's brother Sultan Muhammad Khan, took the throne and killed Kalkani. He restored the Afghan tricolor the same year. However, the next year he modified the seal and inscribed the date of his monarchy on it. Nadir Shah was succeeded by his son Muhammad Zahir Shah, and he was overthrown by his cousin Daud Khan, who became the first prime president of Afghanistan. Till 1974, Zahir Shah's flag was still used, but the dates were removed simply because the monarchy had now ended. After 1974, Daud Khan introduced another flag, and this time the arrangement of colors as well as their proportion had been changed along with the seal. In 1978, Daud Khan and most of his family were killed in the communist Saur Revolution by Nur Muhammad Turki, who became the first communist dictator of Afghanistan. Till October, he used Daud Khan's flag but without the seal, simply because that regime had fallen. But in October, the flag of Turkey's faction of the Communist Party, the Khalq faction, became the national flag of Afghanistan. History has proven that most communist dictators just use flags to glorify their regimes, and Afghanistan was, well, no exception. To cut a long story short, Afghanistan had 4 communist dictators, and the Communist Party was known as the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, aka the PDPA. It had 2 factions who had the most power, although there were some other factions as well. The first 2 dictators came from the Khalq faction, while the last 2 came from the Parcham faction. In 1979, Turkey was secretly suffocated by his rival Hafizullah Amin, who then ordered the newspapers to publish that he had actually died from an illness. The same year, the USSR invaded Afghanistan because they said they wanted to support Amin's regime. But fun fact, they were the ones who killed him. The reason for this was to replace him with a much more loyal puppet, BABRAK KAMAL. And under BABRAK KAMAL, the flag of Parcham faction became the unofficial flag of Afghanistan for some time. BABRAK KAMAL was installed with the hopes of fooling all the resistance fighters known as the Mujahideen to give up their resistance. And many contemporary Afghan Muslims described him as a true hypocrite because he acted as if he believed in Islam, whereas in reality, he was a staunch believer of communism. It was also under BABRAK KAMAL that the Afghan tricolor reappeared, but for the first time with communist symbols. In 1986, the Soviets realized that BABRAK KAMAL wasn't effective enough, and so they deposed him in favor of a much more loyal puppet, Muhammad Najibullah. It is said that Najib was a practicing Muslim in his personal life, and this was very useful for the Soviets. The next year, Najibullah introduced what would be Communist Afghanistan's last flag. Once again, he had played around with the seal, and that's how he got his flag. In 1992, the communist regime collapsed with the Soviet forces' withdrawal. This resulted in the Peshawar Accords, where most of the anti-communist fighters, aka the Mujahideen, agreed to form a government known as the Islamic State of Afghanistan. It was led by SIBGHATULLAH Mojaddedi, who was a pro-Western state, and warlords control a significant part of Afghanistan since then. Till 1992, a different tricolor was seen in Afghanistan consisting of green, white, and black colors, often with Islamic text inscribed on it. This continued till a Tajik leader named Burhanuddin Rabbani was appointed the president of Afghanistan. Rabbani came up with an official pattern of the colors with a seal in the middle. However, many people weren't satisfied with the government, and ethnic nationalism was still a very big issue in the country, along with dictatorship of warlords who weren't accountable for any of the crimes they did. This led to a group of students, most of whom were ethnic Pashtuns, to revolt against the government and create their own state. History calls them the Taliban. By 1996, the Taliban had established themselves and began their project of creating a classical Islamic state without Western influences. This itself strained their relations with the USA, especially because the Taliban did not support democracy or capitalism. In 1997, the Taliban introduced a new flag with the Islamic Declaration of Faith on it. Then in 2001, the 9/11 incident took place and gave the US a pretext to overthrow the Taliban's government in Afghanistan. The US wasted no time, and the same year they invaded Afghanistan. And before the end of 2001, they had reinstated the Islamic State of Afghanistan. And so the Islamic State's flag returned, but with one exception. The difference was that this time the flag had the Declaration of Faith written on it in blue. There were still political issues because Pashtuns made up the majority of Afghanistan, whereas the Islamic State favored the non-Pashtuns. So in 2002, the Americans, with the help of an Afghan politician of Pashtun origin known as Hamid KARZAI, created the first US puppet government in Afghanistan and called it the Transitional Islamic State of Afghanistan. The main aim of creating this government was to make sure the Pashtun majority supported the US, because otherwise it would be very hard for the Americans to stay in the country. The monarchist tricolor was reintroduced and there were some modifications, most notably the Islamic inscriptions which now appeared. The same year, in 2002, the Loya Jirga, aka the legislature, chose that it would be really cool if they switched the color of the symbol on the flag from white to gold, and so they did it. This continued till 2004, after which the state was replaced by Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, and under Ashraf Ghani they changed their flag to make it look something like this. The seal was enlarged and now it was much more detailed than before. This continued till 2021. So on the 15th of August 2021, the Taliban decided to send some presents to the US so that they would convince them to just leave and sign the instrument of surrender. Just kidding. They invaded Kabul and took possession of the city once for all because the power transfer was taking a very long time. And then of course they replaced the flag of the Islamic Republic with their old flag, which is still flown today. So to oversimplify everything, the flag was changed simply because firstly, most of the time when a new government came to power, they brought a new flag, and also because the leaders just wanted to do that on multiple occasions. I would like to thank all of you for watching, and a special thanks to the acknowledgements you can see on my screen.